Have you been feeling Uranus and Gemini? Because oh my God, it makes me so excited. Like the I was talking about this with a friend the other day. The energy is such a visceral difference between Uranus and Taurus and Uranus and Gemini. And I kind of felt it last year when we had Uranus and Gemini from like July to September of 2025. But I was just such in a a dark phase of my life. We'll sum it up to that I wasn't really so focused on it and aware of the way that it showed up for me back then because I was so focused on other things and had such prevalent personal matters to attend to. But now that I'm like in a much better place in my life personally than I was a year ago, I can really tell this difference. It's actually insane. And also now that I'm in a very different location, I have very different astrocartography over here. If you're in my astrocartography course, that's a part of my membership, my $15 membership. You get access to the astrocartography course. Then you already know how much different my astrocartography is where I'm currently living versus where I was living. And so that's a part of it too. I'm on my Venus midheaven line. Uranus is on my Venus, which is my chart ruler. So there's a lot of personal activation happening for me. And I've been talking about this more in my Instagram stories as well. And recently just added something about how Uranus and Gemini is going to be in gate 20 in human design for the next year, which gate 20 is part of the manifesting generator channel. If you've watched my other videos about human design or on human design, heard me talk about this before. Gate 20 is a really powerful one. It sits in the throat, connects to gate 34. So you might have the full channel. And I believe actually, as we head into Gemini season, a lot of us are going to have the manifesting generator channel. It's going to be in transit for about a week at the beginning of Gemini season, as it happens every year, as well as the beginning of Sag season. Anyways, Gate 20 is all about the now. What is, what are you called to in the now? What are you excited about right now? And it's very important moving forward that we focus more so on our present than anything and we live present. Because really, if we want to get meta about it, the present moment is the only thing we ever truly have. The past is just a memory in our heads, neurons firing in our memory banks in our brain, right? And the future is what we're creating by what we're focused on in the present. So really all we ever have is the now. And that is going to be especially our big collective lesson this next year with Uranus in this gate in Gemini. How can you live more presently and focus on what's exciting you in the now and be adaptable in your present moment based on your excitement or what's coming through for you. Like I said, the gate 20 is in the throat. So it's also really important to pay attention to what we say and how we say what we say. The tonality that comes through when we talk about certain things. Those of you with divinely defined throat in human design, if you've gotten a human design report from me or a reading from me, you know I talk about this. If you have a defined throat in human design, you have to pay attention to the tonality of how you are saying things. It really comes through your voice. And we're all going to be especially having this energy over the next year of really paying attention to how you say things when you talk about it. If you're talking about something or like sitting with a decision on something and you're like blah blah but this and I decided blah blah blah, that's very different than like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like I think I mentioned this. Did I mention this last week? That I no, because I hadn't done it yet. Y'all, I literally had this past week, so much has happened. I've lived like 10 lives in the past week, and this is very Uranus and Gemini. I planted a garden. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been talking about this in my stories. I planted a garden in like a matter of a few hours. And now I have like a full-blown grocery store growing in my front yard. Because of like random insights that I just got one night and I saw these things on Facebook Marketplace and I took action and I was like, you know what? Yes, this is the time. I've been wanting this for years. I've been saying I want a garden for forever. And you can hear it in the tonality of my voice. Like, I'm so excited to be growing food. Like, and that is such a visceral difference from like, yeah, but I love it. So pay attention to how you say the things you are talking about. Really bring awareness to that in on a moment to moment basis, because that is going to tell you and inform you so much about what you're meant to be doing versus what you're not meant to be doing. We all have to follow our excitement, and this is going to be especially true as we continue into the year and Jupiter moves into Leo. Like, that's really what Jupiter and Leo is all about, and the South Node's going to be there too. So we have to release what doesn't bring us joy. Imagine what the world would look like, y'all, if we all like truly lived our joy above everything else. Like, the world would be such a beautiful place, and we all kind of have a responsibility in our own lives to create that. And the ripple effect that that creates is massive and ineffable. We cannot conceptualize the ripple effect that that has. So, with that, that's a very important piece as we get into the rest of the year, but especially this upcoming week because we have Mars starting to square Jupiter, as I talked about last week. This is the week where it peaks. Mars square Jupiter is not comfy energy, but it is going to be a kind of final purge to push us to fully step into a new chapter and really transform and rid ourselves of things or patterns or belief systems that are still kind of left over from the last chapter of our life that we've been stepping out of this year. So, with that, Mercury is also going to square Pluto this week. Again, kind of creating that energy of where are you being challenged to really step outside of something that isn't for you anymore? Where are you really being challenged and kind of conflicted and pushed to evolve your mindset, your speech, your communication, what you're giving energy to, what you're believing to be true about yourself or your life or the world, right? Again, like I said, it doesn't benefit the world to prison away our joy. It benefits the world to follow our joy and to focus on that more so than anything else. So, yeah, there's a lot of that kind of coming to a head this week of a final purge, a final push to really release something that maybe we've held on to unknowingly or knowingly, consciously or unconsciously. There's a final purge, a final purge to really rid ourselves of it. And it's probably something that's been a big maybe wound or reoccurring trigger for you over the last more than 6 months now, because this has been since September of last year. We've been kind of reflecting on this and reevaluating and healing identity level wounds related to whatever this is, how it's coming up for you. We'll go into that in your horoscope, more specifics, but yeah, whatever theme, identity level change of healing related to past wounds has been coming up for you since September. Self-care practices as well, needing to step into and have more structure, solidarity around your self-care routines, practices, and ways that you take care of and nurture yourself and your joy. How many times did I say joy? So that's really the major energy of this week. I'm going to keep it brief because I also feel like this energy is very internal focused. It's very like spend way less time on the internet than you normally would and spend a lot more time with people you enjoy, with hobbies you enjoy, within nature that you enjoy. It's very much like kind of cultivate your own joy bubble. And less time on the internet is going to benefit you. So that's really a big thing this week too, and a big lesson that's been coming up for me. Again, if you've been following my Instagram stories religiously, then you know this. You know that. Okay. Is there anything else I want to say about this week's energy before we get into it? No, I feel complete. Okay. Let's get into the horoscopes. Hi, Aries Rising. We start off your week with the emotional focus on your perspective. So there might be some really big communication things coming up for you to shift, belief system things for you to shift, just a way of viewing life, talking about life, going about life differently in a major way. There's also going to be at the start of the week something kind of coming to a head around you, identity level wounds, a whole new life that you're stepping into, and that might put tension or challenges on ways you're expanding within home or within your inner world. And like I talked about at the beginning, really important for you to kind of have self-care routines, practices, structures in place for you to take care of yourself. That energy is going to kind of continue into Tuesday. But also on Tuesday, there will be something about money that maybe comes up, conversation you have to have, or again, just a belief system level thing you need to really look at and reframe about money or possessions, self-worth, your value, maybe your values and how you're living from them. There could also be this kind of clicking in and solidifying in of a new belief system and identity around that. Some sort of emotional healing with that as well. Lots of transformation at the start of this week. Wednesday, we have the emotional focus moving into your career. Gonna put some kind of challenge what's going on with you. You might really have to kind of stand up for yourself or really just kind of stay true to your boundaries. Something like that could really come up in there. Also on Thursday might be some kind of tension between career, what's going on with you, and what's going on with home or family. There could also be a need for you to have a healthy rage outlet, like a rage room or screaming in the woods. There's maybe something that's going to come up emotionally for you to really have a safe container to express anger. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your long-term goals, visions, community, social media. There's some sort of big emotional transformation that you experience, maybe pretty early on Friday, or maybe like overnight or in your dreams or something. It's just kind of like waking up feeling different is the vibe. And this is kind of an internal identity level shift that feels like it will occur for you almost like overnight, but it's been building for a while. Saturday, there's nothing really major. It's a big energy of integration. There is still some tension or challenges going on between you and home or family. Maybe some deeper wounds around identity or appearance. Your sense of self coming up as well. Again, maybe related to like ways you could even communicate to yourself about yourself kind of thing, and needing to shift those in a major way to really just have a better mindset moving forward with everything that you're doing. Because it is all aligned, and it's like you just have to stay steadfast to this new beginning that you have embarked on for it to all work out in the ways that you want. As we end out the week on Sunday, there's kind of further integration and activation of emotional healing, maybe related to community, like people really supporting you in what you're doing and feeling more in a groove with who you're around, what you're doing, how you're sharing yourself with the world, and the way that you're doing it. There's a lot more harmony and just kind of like integration of everything, although there might be some further wounds that come up or start to, but that's kind of like a next week thing. It's really not pressing like over this upcoming weekend. What's pressing over this upcoming weekend is integration and maybe having like social time to prove to yourself how much you've changed and grown into a different version of yourself than you've ever been. So that is your week ahead, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Taurus Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on shared resources, debt, taxes, investments. There's maybe something you get emotional clarity around that you want to do or you want to step into, maybe related to what's changing with relationships or values or possessions or self-worth. There could be something that, is kind of tension that, how do I say? There's something, wow, some tension that kind of produces this effect of needing to change something or getting emotional clarity about what you want to change with resources, with money as a whole and in general. Tuesday, I mean, the start of the week is is kind of challenging because there's a lot of subconscious stuff coming up. There's a lot of like how you communicate, either from an emotional, it's hard to talk about this energy. It's just there's a lot going on, and a lot of it is underneath the surface as well. So there's a lot of need for you to really maybe kind of isolate, like have containers of isolation for yourself this week to process what's coming up, because a lot of it is subconscious. A lot of it is not might need to work with a practitioner as well, like a healer or a somatic therapist or something, to kind of really get to the bottom of everything that's coming up. But it's a lot of change to your communication. It's a lot of change like to subconscious belief systems related to that. And kind of expanding into new habits and daily routines that support you and your emotional health. As we head into Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your belief systems, your perspective of life. So there's a big focus on that and kind of taking the work that you've been doing internally a little bit more external than it has been. So again, it feels like the beginning of the week is there's a big need to isolate or just spend some time with yourself and process what's coming up underneath the surface and like what's really going on, and kind of get to the bottom of it. And then it feels like as we head into the rest of the week, there's more of a need to externalize it and kind of like embody it and live it and kind of spend more time in your external world to be able to do that. But there still might be things on Wednesday that it's like there's emotional challenge between how you're viewing life and your external world. And again, like these boundaries you're needing to have with your alone time or with your routine, or like really needing to like be firm about something in your schedule or your routine, to have that space to take care of yourself in ways that are really needed and maybe you like haven't ever gotten before, or there's been such change in your life you're like, I need to be able to meditate for 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? And it's like it's a need. But there might have to be some really strong boundaries you set with the people around you in order to have space for that and to make it happen. Um, and Thursday, it just kind of feels like there's tension between like what you want to do and how to go about doing it. But an outlet might be spending time with people that support you, might be a workout, might be going for a walk in the woods or a run, or man, there's a lot of this coming up for people is having an outlet for rage or having an outlet for like emotions that is healthy, whether it's exercise or like screaming into a pillow. To each their own, but there is this need for you to really have an outlet for you to alchemize these emotions that are going to be coming up. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of career. This really feels like big emotional transformation related to what has been building all week that you've been like really diligent about or committed to making space for, to make happen for yourself, to really improve what's coming up for you. There could also be something, a conversation you have to have again. That's kind of a theme all week, is really holding your boundaries and sticking up for yourself. For whatever this is. And there's something maybe with career as well that you're gonna want to take action on related to what's changing about career, as well as you, your identity, your sense of self, how you're presenting yourself and sharing yourself with the world. And then it kind of feels like there's a need to, again, maybe like spend more time with people that support you, that encourage you, that are going to help you work through this stuff that's coming up. So that is a major focus as we end out your week, Taurus. So let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. It's a lot of big energy. And I'll see you next week. Hi, Gemini Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your relationships. There could be something about relationships that are kind of pulling you away from a focus on yourself, or there's something about you that you're like focused on, but there's this pull that kind of, your relationships are putting tension on that ability to focus on yourself. And so there's maybe a need to just figure out how to balance that. But there is a lot of like friendship, relationship, community time coming through for you, especially this week. And it is supporting you, even though it feels like, oh, I really want to do this for myself, but I have to, like, I'm also like hanging out with all these people. It does feel like you're gonna find a way to balance it, and it's gonna be beneficial for you, even if it is a little tensiony in the moment. Also Monday and Tuesday, there's tension between what you're acting on with long-term goals, vision, social media, community, friendships, and what's going on with money, like ways that you're expanding within your money. There could be a little, again, a little conflict between those two areas. There could be also some inspiration that you gain from hanging out with people that benefits your money in some way that's maybe unexpected. Also the energy on Tuesday, there could be, yeah, literally like emotional healing from friends, from your connections, that comes through and kind of benefits whatever else that you've been feeling a little murky about. As we head into Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your shared resources, debt, taxes, investments, also vulnerability, kind of inner world psychology stuff coming up, maybe a big release, a cry. There's something as well that you're gaining clarity around within your mindset or your mental health. That feels kind of challenging to your worldview, feels challenging to a belief system, and a perspective that is kind of, again, it's a final purge energy. I talked about this at the beginning. Like there's really this deeper stuff coming up for you to really transform and alchemize so that it doesn't keep showing up in the ways that it has. And especially on Thursday, I mean, there's tension between your areas of money and your areas of shared resources. That's kind of challenging what's going on with community, what's going on with your long-term goals and visions. This could be something about money coming up of like, oh, I have this idea that I want to do, but I need to expand my vision. I need to expand what I've thought of as possible with money or with resources or with community, with creativity. Maybe even there could be some creative inspiration that comes through those challenges, kind of, alchemizing it into turning shit into gold, for lack of a better word, is kind of this energy. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your perspective, your worldview, your belief systems. There's emotional transformation there, that's activating something within boundaries around community or friends. It's also kind of putting some tension on what's going on again with your mental health, and there might be a need to really like look within yourself at things that have been going on underneath the surface in order to do a kind of final purge, cleanup of these behaviors or belief systems or mindsets that aren't serving you anymore and need to be looked at in order to release. Saturday, the emotional focus on your perspective directly challenges what's going on with your mental health, what's going on. Again, this is kind of belief system work stuff coming up again. Something you need to take action on as it relates to your spiritual practices, mental health, subconscious beliefs, things of that nature. But there is also, again, I feel like there's a lot of support from people that you're experiencing despite all of the challenges as well. So that's your energy of the week ahead, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Cancer Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your day-to-day schedule, routine, work, physical health. It's kind of putting attention on what's going on with your mental health or what's going on with your inner world. And there's kind of this sense of needing to balance work with your health. There could be a lot of challenges at the start of the week with what's going on with career or work, and what's going on with you and ways you're expanding, to take better care of yourself than you have. And there's kind of like this, yeah, like challenges between you and challenges between um, career and work. And you might be facing realizations about feeling overworked in some ways and needing to kind of reel it back in. Especially on Tuesday, there could be some sort of emotional healing that comes about from that realization and some action or implementation that you realize you need to do. There's also on Tuesday, whatever you're focused on within community or maybe friendships, long-term goals, vision, social media is challenging what's going on in your inner world. There's a lot of underneath the surface inner world transformation happening for you, Cancer. And especially this week, it's kind of all getting forced out. It's all getting like pushed to a head. The final purge, I'm calling it, of like whatever is there underneath the surface that needs to be let go of, especially as it relates to your belief systems, communication, mindset, your worldview. And you might be feeling really fiery, and you might also be attracting people through your community, from your friend groups or from social media that are going to support you in what you're transforming as it relates to that as well. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your relationships. It's very much a social time for you. It kind of feels like you had realizations at the start of the week. In the middle of the week, there's a lot of social, more grounding that happens from the people around you and social support. But it could also put, again, challenge your career, what's going on there in some way. You might be forced to really, how do I say, like time block and be really disciplined with your time and what you're doing, where you're expending your energy. Does it nurture you or not? And if it doesn't, it probably needs to go. Um, and that's a big realizations around that come up all week in different ways. Thursday, there's tension between your emotional focus on relationships and what's expanding about you and your self-care. That directly challenge what's going on with career and what actions you're taking within career. But it feels like, there might be a need to kind of hermit and again, time block yourself, block out your time so that you do have time for yourself, to yourself, in order to kind of process everything that's coming up in a really deep and intense way. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of shared resources, vulnerability, intimacy, as well as like psychological transformation. So there could be some really big breakthroughs that come as we end out the week, especially maybe Friday, like emotional breakthroughs, emotional release, maybe some crying. And again, maybe needing to talk things through with someone that you trust in your community or journal, or I don't know, start going to a book club or a writer's club or a journaling club. I don't know, to like really work through emotionally what's coming up for you. Especially maybe on Saturday, there could be a need for you to really, emotionally clear out some stuff that has been kind of building up all week. And I think, like leaning on your community is really going to help you with all of this and give you some much needed inspiration to head to, I don't know, just kind of stay the course, and not get sidetracked, but by whatever these challenges or conflicts are that are coming up in the way that they're coming up, because it feels like you're right there, and there's just a need to keep telling yourself that. I mean, you're like own best cheerleader. And that's how we end out your week, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Leo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your creative passions, dating, creative projects, romance. It's kind of putting attention on what's going on with community, what's going on with friend groups. You might be feeling a little like creatively inspired, but also kind of like there's other things that are pulling your attention away from your creative projects. And there's just a need to kind of view it all differently. There's also a lot of focus on your belief systems and on your perspective of life. The way that you perceive life around you is really kind of getting a big push, to further clear out some things related to that in your inner world, your mental health. There could be things that you're really just needing to see differently and view differently. It's kind of reminding me of recently, I had something just get really received wrong on social media. And instead of like, I did had a moment of taking a little personal, and then I was like, I just need to block these people, and stop looking at it and stop reading the crazy comments, because why it's not benefiting me. Why am I going to do that to myself? Like, so that's kind of the energy, is don't keep doing something that doesn't support your mental health, that feels like it drains you. And there's just a need to like rise above it, rise out of it, sit above it, and keep doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is something that's a creative passion for you, and there's a need to keep at it, even if there is like weird feedback. Just put your blinders on, right? I know it's can be easier said than done, but there's a big need for that. Um, as we head into Tuesday, I mean, that kind of continues. It peaks Monday, but you're still probably going to feel that as we head into the rest of the week. It's more about integration, of what came up on Monday as we progress into the week here. But it does feel like whatever, happened, there is going to be this sense of really big emotional healing and clearing around it on Tuesday. And kind of maybe just this again, like remove, like detached perspective from it that you have had before, and more this perspective of like, okay, I'm just going to do this because I love to do it. That's the whole point. The point is not what people think of it or what people say about it. The point is that I love to do it. So, in doing it for the sake of the passion that you have with it or around it, right? So there's a big need for that. There could be something as well, like mentally that you're focused on with career, communication around career reputation that's challenging, something that's been changing around relationships. So there's a lot of kind of opportunity for challenges and conflict this week, but it's like where, how, and where is it forcing you to evolve in ways that are just as needed? And how can you see it as like divine kind of protection or redirection instead of like a sign that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing? Because that's not what it means. As we head into Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your day-to-day work, physical health, routine, and kind of puts tension Wednesday and Thursday on what's expanding about your mental health, your inner world, and ways that you take care of yourself. So don't neglect your self-care practices or things that help you detach from hate or negativity or whatever it is. Don't neglect that routine for what, maybe the busyness that's coming as a result of what you've been doing or moving forward with. It's kind of like stay balanced in your routines and your self-care. And there might be a focus on restructuring your time or schedule to be able to do that as well. Thursday, there's more tension, there's more conflict emotionally between what you're pulled to on a day-to-day basis, as well as like what's expanding again about your spiritual practice and self-care routine, directly challenging what's going on about your perspective. There could be a big belief system shift on Thursday. That can also force the way you communicate to yourself and others to change the way that you share ideas and informations. Maybe also relationship stuff coming into the mix of like needing to set boundaries energetically, as well as like, ones that you communicate verbally when it's called for. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of relationships. There could be a big emotional transformation and just kind of change within people in your life or the way that you view people. Um, it maybe even related to like community and social media, long-term goals and visions. It feels like a big kind of breakthrough moment of, I don't know, like a big spiritual shift in the way that you view life and other people around you, and maybe even the way that you attract other people to you or who you attract. Saturday feels good for having support from your friend groups, from other people in your life. There might be something about relationships though emotionally that's challenging what's going on with career or public visibility or reputation in some way. But again, it's all about how is this pressing you to evolve in ways that are needed, so you can show up more authentic and more sure of what you're doing and how you're doing it. We end out the week on Sunday with the emotional focus moving into your area of shared resources and kind of propelling you to change or evolve something about that. What's going on with money, shared resources, and what's going on with your long-term goals or visions. So that's how we end out your week, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Virgo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your home and family, and there might be something about that is kind of putting tension on what's going on with career, maybe money stuff with career or relational stuff with career, maybe even self-worth stuff with career. There's tension between your home and your reputation, your image. But there is some emotional harmony between home and your inner world as well as shared resources that's occurring on Monday at the same time. Maybe solidifying in this kind of new way that you're rooted in life. This big energetic shift for you underneath the surface, that maybe other people don't see so much, but you feel, and other people definitely feel, even if they don't have words to kind of explain it. At an intellectual level. Another big thing that's happening Monday is challenge between what you're acting on with shared resources or investments, debt, taxes, and where you're expanding within community. So, like I talked about at the beginning of the video, this might be a final push to wrap up a cycle of healing related to what has been coming up since September, in this area, in both of these areas, of your life with shared resources as well as with long-term goals, community, social media. There's a lot of expansion there, but whatever you're acting on with shared resources is kind of challenging what the expansion. So there's a need to kind of evolve and just restructure something so it's more beneficial for you, short term and long term. More emotional healing is possible on Tuesday around home, around your inner world, as well as shared resources, or your self-worth with what you're doing and how you're doing it. Later Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts into your creative passions, projects, and harmonizes with what's going on, about some educational thing or teaching or sharing, as well as like your overall belief systems and worldview of life is kind of supported. There's emotional support in terms of you sharing some things or teaching things, Tuesday and Wednesday, although there might be some, again, challenges emotionally with that and what's going on with shared resources. As we head into Thursday, there's tension between your creative passions, projects, and what's expanding about your long-term goals, visions, community, friendships. And that is, this is kind of maybe something that came up Monday with that is coming to a head on Thursday for you to really emotionally clear out and look at differently. There might be something, as well with money that you do to kind of release the tension that's happening in all of these other areas. Possession, self-worth. Maybe you're like selling things and kind of recycling what you have, so you can get things that feel better, or just downsizing in general to make space for something else is a way that you could utilize this energy. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus shifts on your day to day, your schedule, your physical health, as well as work. So there's a big emotional transformation that, could take place on Friday around what you're doing on a daily basis and how you're going about doing it. This could positively benefit career, image, reputation, but it could challenge a belief system or what's going on with the way that you're viewing life, the way that you're perceiving things around you. Your overall worldview and perception could be challenged from this as well. And that kind of comes to a head on Saturday for you to evolve and for you to look at differently. But there is a lot of emotional support at the same time with what's going on with work and career. I don't know, maybe you meet someone new who kind of presents you with an opportunity that was unexpected and it kind of changes the way you see the world, right? This is that energy. And then as we end out the week on Sunday, the emotional focus shifts into your relationships. Could be a good creative healing outlet for you, but it could challenge something about career, what's going on with your image, your reputation, and what's changing there. It's kind of a temporary emotional challenge that again forces you to evolve something about relationships and career and how you're handling both now that there's a lot more forward momentum with career for you, Virgo. So that is your week ahead. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Libra Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your day to day, your communication, your belief systems, your kind of where you're going, who you're talking to. Could be a kind of busy start to the week. And whatever's happening with that feels like really good with relationships and people that you have around you. But whatever's going on with relationships at the same time is kind of challenging what's expanding with career. There could be some like serious challenges happening between the people around you and your visibility, your public image, things like that, that you're really kind of having to look at differently in order to evolve and change your approach to in a way that feels more nurturing to you. As well as maybe who you have around you and what you're doing with the people you have around you at the same time. Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your home, family, but it could challenge something about relationships temporarily and emotionally. But there does also feel like this big energy Tuesday of transformation within your inner world. There could be something massively shifting within your structures at home, within your routine, within just the way that you, again, take care of yourself, the way that you structure your life and kind of what that allows for when it comes to relationships as well as a whole. There's emotional support between your home and family and what's going on with shared resources. You could be getting some ideas around money or investments or changing something there. But what's going on with shared resources and conversations around that could directly challenge what's changing about your creativity, what's changing about dating or romance or children at the same time. Then we get into Wednesday. And Wednesday and Thursday, there's a big theme of emotional focus on your home, on your family that is putting tension on what's expanding with career and image. And both of those things are are challenging what you're moving forward with in relationships or what you're acting on as it relates to other people in your life and around you. But the outlet is kind of what are you doing for yourself? What are you doing to nurture yourself? What are you doing to bring joy to you? Is it learning something new? Is it spending time around people that just feel really good and connect you with other people in like your social circle? It's really the energy, the release of all this tension, especially on Thursday, is really through you. Like, what are you doing to support yourself through all of this? When life gets challenging, like, what do you have to fall back on? Is the energy. Like I said, especially Thursday. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your creative passions, projects, pursuits, and there could be some big emotional transformation that happens within that area of your life that kind of activates something within relationships and also positively benefits a big change that's happening within the way that you view life and the world around you, and maybe what you're learning or teaching as it relates to that too, and like spiritual principles, getting more clarity on this new kind of belief system or mindset that you've been stepping into. Saturday is a big kind of day of integration of all of these things and all of these like, okay, how do I structure all of this? What do I do with all of this? Although the emotional focus Saturday that's on your creative passions and projects could directly challenge what's going on with shared resources or conversations around shared resources. But it is benefiting, again, this kind of perspective shift, like this big worldview shift of seeing things differently, of maybe seeing things more in a how do I say, more streamlined, like you're at peace with what's happening in the way that you see things. It's more so like, oh, that didn't go how I planned, but it's all fine. Like it's divine. It's working out anyways. That's kind of the energy as we end out the week. It's like whatever challenges do continue to come up, you just handle it differently. Some really big like healing sets in as we end out this week. And on Sunday, especially, the emotional focus shifts into your area of routine, work, physical health. And it kind of challenges what's going on with your worldview, kind of challenges something about maybe a belief system that you've maybe held on to about something. But again, it's all about viewing the miracles that are possible in life when you choose to see them and expect them, right? Is the big energy. So that's your week ahead, Libra. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Scorpio Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your money, on your possessions, values. Could put tension on shared resources or what's coming up with debt, taxes, or investments. But it is kind of forcing you to evolve something about how you're handling your money versus other people's money. There could also be something you're releasing about your possessions or what you do on a daily basis or what you have on a daily basis. There's a lot of momentum, a positive momentum towards like money and work at the same time. Maybe like you did a cleanse or something, or like a purge of items, and it's suddenly bringing in more money. I don't know. There's something about that, like a very alchemy magic type feel. At the same time, whatever's going on with work and health is that you've been moving in some new direction with or taking action on is directly challenging what's expanding about your worldview, your perception of life, your belief systems. So there could be some big thing with work that you're like, I have to do this and I have to like really be steadfast with this. And it forces you to change your perspective. It forces you to change some belief system stuff. As we head into Tuesday, there's that continues. That's really the energy Monday and Tuesday. But more so on Tuesday specifically, there's also something that you have to kind of communicate with relationships that could challenge a change that's happening within your home. But, the conversation needs to be had. And it's kind of like, you just need to view it differently and really have like focus on and expect a positive outcome from this and maybe come at it from a structured, practical place. Mercury is in Taurus after all now. So when it comes to approaching relationship conversations, there needs to be some sort of practicality. Although it's gonna be challenging. There's gonna be something about that you have to evolve. And be steadfast with and committed to. The really big focus on communicating your needs this week and really kind of putting the pen to paper. Wednesday, the emotional focus on your day to day and communication and belief systems adds tension. This is the theme Wednesday and Thursday. So there's tension between where you're going, who you're talking to, what you're doing on a daily basis. There might be a lot of stuff all of a sudden that's like on your plate you have to be responsible for. And again, there's a need to really kind of communicate like, hey, and I do feel like the positive way to handle this or the positive outcome is like having the support through people, but there needs to be right the practical communication. Um, and it's gonna again kind of put tension on you to change something about your belief system as it relates to that and challenge you to evolve something around work so you have more space and you have more ability to focus on your mental health and your inner world in ways that maybe you haven't had because of all of this stuff that's been going on that you're needing to like release in a big way. So that continues into Thursday. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your home, your family. So there might be some big emotional transformation that happens there that maybe challenges a conversation within a relationship or vice versa. There's a big emotional focus on your inner world, your home, your family, and kind of spending time there and having some positive benefit from that with what's going on with shared resources. This is debt, taxes, investments, grants, scholarships, other people's money, right? There's some positive outcome that comes through all of this from that in some major way that maybe was unexpected, right? Uranus is in Gemini now. Expect the unexpected. Like truly. Especially Saturday. There could be coming something forming over the weekend with that that maybe you don't hear about right away. But as we end out the week, there is kind of this renewal of your creative passions or inspiration, especially Sunday, as the emotional focus shifts onto a direction you've been needing to head with creative passions or projects or pursuits. And that could, again, maybe challenge a belief system with money or shared resources. But again, it's kind of like remember the way that you're being called to view life now from a place of like what's possible instead of probable. So that is your week ahead, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Sagittarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on you, but it could put tension on relationships or what's going on with relationships. But there is, more so, there's a lot of emotional healing happening between you and your creative inspiration or dating, romance, where you're headed with creativity or passion projects, things of that nature. There is a lot of emotional support for that and what you're doing and how you're doing it. But also on Monday, I mean, this is Monday and Tuesday, there's challenges happening or coming up between your creative passions, projects, and what's going on in your inner world, maybe what's healing at a deep, vulnerable, intimate level, or what's happening or expanding with shared resources, debt, taxes, and investments, inheritance. There's something about that that's directly challenging what's going on with creativity or what's going on with dating at the same time. Tuesday, that continues. There's some challenging energy between money, possessions, and creative passions are pursuits, projects, but at the same time, there's harmony between money and what's going on with work. There is also a kind of moment on Tuesday of emotional healing between you and creativity. And maybe the money that you're making from your creative passions or projects that maybe is kind of a new venture or been a huge focus of taking action on and being disciplined with. At the same time, there's a need to really kind of shift your mindset with things and how you're communicating what you're doing in work or with health and kind of the way that you're thinking about it as well as talking about it. Wednesday, what's going on emotionally with money puts tension on shared resources and what's expanding with that. And at the same time, there's challenges um, that are going on with creative passions or going on with dating or romance or children. The release of this is through your community, through maybe getting more clarity on your long-term goals as it relates to relationships or vision with community or social media or friend groups. Is kind of the outlet for the conflict and tension that you could be experiencing Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday, there could be something really emotionally triggered related to creativity, dating, and money, self-worth, values, possessions at the same time. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of communication, where you're going on a daily basis, who you're talking to, how you're talking to yourself and others. So there could be a big emotional shift that happens on Friday, emotional transformation. But later on Friday and into Saturday, something about that could challenge what's going on with work or could kind of force you to evolve how you're communicating with people or to people in work or what you do on a daily basis or how you take care of your physical health. There could be kind of renewed inspiration of a new routine related to that. And on Saturday, there's a lot of like relational support coming through for you at the same time as maybe feeling kind of conflicted or having these kind of emotional challenges come up and getting insight on what to evolve and what to change through those conflicts or through those challenges. There is support emotionally through your relationships, through your friendships. And as we end out the week on Sunday, the emotional focus moves into your home and family. There could be something you get emotionally clear about needing to do differently with home or family related to some change about a relationship or relationships that have been challenging that. So that is your week ahead, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Capricorn Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your inner world, on your subconscious, and it's putting attention on what's going on with work or your routine or physical health, kind of like a need to balance mental, emotional, and physical health, and maybe getting more clarity on what that looks like for you moving forward. There could be something you have to release as it relates to communication styles, belief systems, mindset, as well. But there is a lot of positive momentum towards healing something at an inner world level, either with related to home, family, subconscious, past life stuff, maybe even. And at the same time, Monday and Tuesday, there's a lot of challenges happening between home and family and what's expanding about relationships. So there's kind of a lot of tension or challenges between those two areas of your life, really peaking Monday and into Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, we have some communicational challenges between creative passions, projects, dating, children, maybe, and what's going on with money or what's changing about money, resources, possessions as a whole. But at the same time, again, there's really this kind of solidifying in of a healing in your inner world Maybe kind of, I don't know, helping you to see how much you've changed and stepped into a version of yourself that feels more embodied and worthied and worthy. As we head into Wednesday, there's a sense of emotional renewal taking place within your sense of self, within your identity. It is kind of challenging something about home or family to remain dedicated to or have boundaries with or around. At the same time that it is kind of supporting you emotionally to have a lot of creative inspiration, maybe as an outlet for what's going on that feels challenging. As we head into Thursday, there's more of that same energy. There's tension between your emotional ability to focus on you and what's expanding about relationships. Both of those areas of your life are challenging what's going on with home or family. Um, and there's a need to kind of have an outlet of that through your career, through relationships in your career. I don't know, going out with coworkers or just really spending time with your network, your community, friends that are going to kind of pull you out of the challenges or conflicts that are occurring in these other areas. Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your money, resources, possessions. There's potential for a big emotional transformation that takes place related to everything that's been coming up and building all week around money, possessions, or value, self-worth. But at the same time, Friday and Saturday, that emotional focus on your money kind of challenges what's going on with creative passions or dating or romance, or a need to kind of communicate something about that. At the same time, it could activate these, I don't know, something with work, something with money could be a positive benefit of whatever this is, especially Saturday. And as we head into Sunday, the emotional focus shifts onto your communication, your how you're sharing ideas, information, what you're doing on a daily basis. So there could be something about your routine that you gain clarity on needing to evolve, or your communication styles or patterns of what you do on a daily basis related to communication and also related to work and health. So a lot of things solidifying by the end of the week for you, maybe changes to your literal routine and day to day. And that is your week ahead, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Aquarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your community, your network, friendships, long-term goals and visions as well. And it could put tension on something that is going on within dating or romance, or creative pursuits or passions. But there is kind of from that clarity that comes about of like needing to evolve, or something about your schedule, your routine to get more clarity on that and kind of restructure differently in a way that's going to support you moving forward. Monday and Tuesday, there's a lot of challenges and conflict between what's going on for you on a daily basis, and what's going on with health or work or your routine, your schedule. I mean, there's a lot of, it's very busy energy, and it's kind of like, how do I not get swept up in this storm of chaos, of busyness? Like, what do I need to like structure myself and stay grounded through this? Is majorly the vibe. Tuesday, like I said, that energy is very, very prevalent Monday and Tuesday. But Tuesday, there's something that kind of maybe could solidify in within emotional healing, related to long-term goals, visions, what you're doing on a daily basis, how you're sharing your ideas and communicating to yourself and to others as well. Um, Also on Tuesday, some kind of conversation you have to have with home or family about home or family is directly challenging what's changing about you and your sense of self and identity. Um, Kind of like what needs to evolve in both those areas to have more balance in ways that benefit you. Again, it's all about your schedule, your routine, your day to day at this time, and restructuring all of that to make sure it's still benefiting you and what you're doing moving forward. Tuesday and into Wednesday, the emotional focus is on your inner world, your subconscious, your mental health. Kind of challenges on Wednesday what's going on with, again, your day to day, your communication styles, but also supporting emotionally some conversations you maybe have needed to have with home or family. That continues into Thursday, but on Thursday, there's a lot of tension between your inner world and your outer world. There's a lot of tension between your mental health and your physical health, or like again, your routine, your schedule that supports you spiritually, supports you in staying grounded through all of this, but also in like what you have to do on a daily basis for work or what have you, friends, just kind of errands stuff. The release is, I don't know, maybe you learn a new skill to help you manage your time better or something. Spending time with people that inspire you or empower you or support you could be a helpful outlet for that energy, especially over the weekend as we get into Friday. There's a sense of emotional renewal and big emotional transformation within your sense of self and identity. But as we head into Saturday, that directly challenges what's going on with home or family. So there's a lot of challenging things that are happening between you and your inner world, and like it's like a great restructuring in every kind of aspect of your inner world. But it is supporting what you're doing creatively or what new passions you're stepping into or dating, romance, children. It is kind of supporting those areas. And you could be feeling a lot more creatively inspired around that as we end out the week and maybe with money as well, on Sunday, and what new direction you're headed with money related to creativity. So that is your week ahead, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Pisces Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your career, could directly put tension on what's going on with home or family. But there is some like emotional momentum and healing, positive momentum and action happening between career and money. But at the same time, Monday and Tuesday, a big focus of what's going on with money is directly challenging or conflicting with your creative expansion or children or dating or romance, whatever is expanding in that area of your life. Kind of what you're needing to take action on with money or possessions is challenging that. So there's a big kind of need this whole week to just figure out what needs to evolve in both of those areas to benefit you, have better boundaries, and not get kind of lost in the sauce with stuff. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your long-term goals, visions, community, and kind of challenges again what's going on with money and maybe needing to have better boundaries with money, possessions, or resources in some way, and just kind of like stay dedicated to a path that you've been on with money or possessions or resources, that, kind of remembering your long-term goals and visions and what you're supporting um, in that as it relates to money. We're on Wednesday, yeah. Wednesday, there's also emotional support around maybe from your network or friends or social media that kind of come in to maybe support you through this, and help, you might have helpful conversations with people that just give you some solid advice or feedback on how to make the most of all of this and what to evolve and what to change and what to restructure in a way that's going to benefit you moving forward. But there's at the same time something about conversations or your mindset is really shifting in a major way at an inner subconscious level. And it might even feel like sometimes you are like trying to say certain things and you don't, like, it just comes out like bleh, bleh, bleh. So there might be something with that Tuesday, Wednesday as well. Just needing to kind of slow down how you say things, what you say, um, in order to, again, not get lost in the sauce, right? Thursday, ooh, we have more of that energy, but Thursday, the major energy is tension between your long-term goals, visions, community, and what's expanding about your creative passions or projects and pursuits. And that those areas are directly challenging what's going on with money. The release of that is shared resources. So you might, I don't know, apply for scholarships or grants or take out a business loan to do what you want to do or something like that. Is kind of the release of this. Maybe again having some helpful people around you that have been through it, or you can talk with, that like are going to support you and have a like abundant mindset or expanded mindset, in order to get more clarity on what to do and how to do it moving forward, because it does feel like there's some sort of like tension about what you want to do and how you want to do it on Thursday. But again, lean on your helpful people, phone a friend. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your inner world. There might be some time need for you to take time away to reflect on things. And that could kind of create the opportunity for a big emotional transformation within your inner world on Friday. That's directly supporting what's changing about home or family, or again, your very deep inner world and process. Your energetic foundation is going through a major change and transformation. Um, that's kind of a focus over the weekend, especially Saturday. And like I said, it does feel like you may need to have some conversations with people that could support you emotionally through these challenges or conflicts. And then as we end out the week for you, Pisces, there's a big sense of emotional renewal on Sunday and maybe kind of coming like out of a fog in some ways related to these changes you want to make. So, yeah, that's your week ahead, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Oh my God, what a week. What a week. This upcoming week is kind of one of those weeks that's like make or break. As we get into next week, the moon's in Pisces at the start of the week, so there's kind of this sense of things brewing underneath the surface, and then as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, middle of the week, there's this kind of more so Wednesday, there's a sense of like, okay, emotional renewal for all of us collectively, and this more focus emotionally on taking action towards something. There could also be a lot of things that we're doing, that we're acting on, that require our bravery, that require our courage, and require our kind of thinking from like, what would this version of me do who already has this thing, or this healed version of me do related to this? Like, it's kind of like when you meet someone for the first time and you've been through so many relationship challenges of like dealing with narcissistic people or avoidant people, and you meet someone for the first time and you're like, oh, they seem kind of cool, but also like this, and this. Like that seems off. Like when you've been through, experience is the greatest teacher. When you have been through some stuff, you start to see things really earlier on. And it's never that you're crazy, it's never that you're overthinking it. It's that you have pattern recognition. So that's kind of this energy next week is like really healing ourselves through action. Um, and like that requiring bravery, right? It takes bravery and it takes courage to like meet someone new who reminds you a little bit of someone that you dealt with that wasn't a great type of connection or relationship to have, right? It takes bravery to be like, and have the abundance mindset of like, okay, that person was cool, but also this, and this just doesn't, that's a red flag or whatever. It takes courage to be like, no, I know what that looks like now. I'm going to trust myself. It takes courage to trust yourself. Um, and to move on like quicker, right? And that's healing. And that's like, I'm getting off on a tangent, but that's really the middle of May. As we get into the middle of May, I mean, we have Mars moving over Chiron. We have a Mercury cazimi in Taurus. Like, it really is the major energy. Um, it is moving forward with what we know and not sitting on it any longer. It's integration, it's embodiment of these ways of communicating, these ways of thinking, these ways of behaving, these ways of not only thinking, trusting our intuition, but acting from that place, right? It really, takes courage to see it from truth instead of delusion of like, oh, but I really like this about them. I really like that about them. But the red flags, you know? So that is a major energy this upcoming week, next week, especially on Thursday, the 14th of May. Big emotional healing through action. Same day we have the Mercury cazimi in Taurus. Um, Also activating Venus. A lot of us might be ending unaligned relationships. I mean, this is that energy. This is like something's felt off and I've just written it off for too long. Like I can't keep doing that to myself. Um, and then we have, what is this? The 16th, we have the new moon in Taurus. New beginning in terms of embodiment. Oh my God, on the same day as a Mars Chiron conjunction. Oh my God, next week. The same time that, yeah. I think a lot of unaligned relationships are going to end come middle of May. 16th, 17th. Uh, that's all I'm going to say for now. I'll save it for next week's video. All right, y'all let me know how your horoscope resonated with you in the comments, and I'll see you next time.